Well, thank you very much for allowing me to talk to you today. My name is Mathieu Denis. I'm the Science Director and the Acting CEO of the International Science Council. As you're watching this, I'm probably about to wake up to catch an early train to attend an event in Cherbourg, France, actually dedicated to the future of the ocean, an event that I'm going to be attending and participating in together with Peter Gluckman, the president of the International Science Council. I wanted to use the opportunity of your meeting to say a few words about the ISC, but also share with you some of the most recent developments in our activities. So I have included in this presentation a few standard slides about the ISC, which you can look at when you have time. I'm sure these slides are going to be shared with you. Most of you must have seen these slides before. The ISC, as I hope you know, sponsors a good number, about 15 international scientific networks and bodies of different sorts, of which SCORE is one, and you see in that slide where you fit. The ISC has an action plan which was adopted about a year ago by its membership to cover the current term of our board. So that will take us until 2024, and it's quite an extensive and ambitious action plan with about 30 initiatives that are run from our Secretariat HQ here in Paris, involving 70 institutional partnerships and in a direct manner about 1,500 scientists from on all sorts of issues. The information is available clearly on our website. The first piece of update that I felt is important and relevant that I wanted to share with you today concerns the work that we're doing in the United Nations system, within the multilateral system. Because this is an area where the ISC is putting currently a lot of emphasis, a lot of effort. There's a lot of energy that goes into strengthening our position within the multilateral system. Historically, we have always been the main convener, together with others, but clearly a key actor in convening scientific expertise for different policy processes led by the UN, and that's an area that we want to strengthen, or a role, if you want, that we're seeking to strengthen at the moment. So over the past 9 months, I would say, 6 to 9 months, we have been having extended discussions. First with the Office of the Secretary General himself in New York, and more recently also with Ambassador Korosi, who, as President of the UN General Assembly, on how the ISC could actually support their work. Some of you will remember that in its report to at the previous General Assembly, the Secretary General had expressed his willingness to re-establish a scientific advisory mechanism to his office. So the ISC has been indicated that we were willing to work with our networks of members, affiliated bodies, partners, to support that work and help him in his office in ways that he would find appropriate. Similarly, we've been having discussions with the office of, as I was saying, the President of the General Assembly, to try and see how the ISC again can help and support the work of the General Assembly during Ambassador Korosi's term as President. So these are ongoing discussions. We'll see where they take us, but we're having good reasons to believe that the ISC will indeed strengthen its role vis-a-vis the UN in New York, if you want, the UN Central. But similarly, we've been trying to strengthen our partnerships with the technical agencies. We've had some historical partnerships, some of which are captured here. But in addition to those, to the partnerships that are ongoing with DISA, the agreements that we have with the UNDP, the partnerships that we have with WMO around the sponsorship of certain programs, clearly with UNESCO and UNDRR, Disaster Risk Reduction Office. In addition, we're having discussions with UNEP to see how the ISC could help UNEP and its chief scientist deliver some of the big deliverables and processes that UNEP is engaged in. Similarly, we're about to sign an MOU, an agreement with the World Health Organization, and we're starting discussions with FAO. So, you know, as these partnerships develop, what we're seeing is that there's a lot of, either from UN New York or from the technical agencies, there's a lot of willingness on the part of the multilateral system actors to engage with the International Science Council and its community. And the reality is that what they seek, what they want from us, really is an access to experts, to expertise on virtually any topic from all parts of the world. This is where they feel that the ISC and its community is uniquely placed to help and support. And so we want to make sure that we're putting in place the right conditions, the right frameworks to indeed support those processes and help those agencies deliver. So this is clearly at the top of the agenda of the ISC governing board at the moment, and that's something that we will be in touch with you about, and that's something you'll hear more about in the coming months. Another area where the ISC is showing leadership and some impact already is in the whole area of work around the support to refugee and displaced scientists. Now, this is a discussion, some of you may remember that has started before the war in Ukraine, on Ukraine, maybe should be said, but it has really gained traction in the context of Ukraine. And the discussion now is really about moving towards looking and better understanding how an array of different science or scientific institutions can help and support refugee and displaced scientists, so that we move beyond a situation where we're offering mobility support to a handful of scientists, where we have a much more encompassing offer of ways in which we can help refugee and displaced scientists from around the world, obviously not only from Ukraine, and more importantly, develop policies and programs that can be rolled out in the future, so that we're better prepared when a next crisis occurs. As I said, this is an area where already we're seeing some impact, and I can mention briefly to you the Association of the Scientific and Technological Publishers, so the big publishers of scientific journals, have decided, after having joined some of the meetings co-convened by the ISC, has decided to, first of all, provide full open access to Ukrainian scientists, either displaced in Ukraine or refugee outside of Ukraine. They've decided in their recent General Assembly, STM, the association, through its Research for Life program, has decided that this policy of full open access to scientific journals for scientists from a country afflicted by war would become their default policy for future cases of wars. So that's a real impact, I think, It's a positive impact that we can already show for some of that work. The other important development that we've seen is the collaboration, the discussions that the ISC, together with the UN High Commission on Refugees, UNHCR, are starting to have with a lot of different actors involved in this work around how can we develop better mechanisms to approach not only the immediate support and help in the case of a war or a disaster, but also cover a longer term approach, if you want, that would go all the way until the rebuilding of the science system in countries afflicted by conflict. And so that from the scientific community we can replicate the standard approach that we're seeing in humanitarian organizations, which looks at both preparation, response during the crisis, but also rebuilding. And so working with UNHCR to replicate, if you want, or develop policies for the science system, scientific and research systems worldwide that can be rolled out in case of conflict. So these are interesting, important developments. And again, that's something that, if you look at our website, if you subscribe to a newsletter, you'll hear more about. There are a lot of developments in some of our key projects as well. You can look at the slide by yourself. I want to say a few words about organizational developments. To say that a new CEO will be announced imminently now. The ISC has now opened its focal point for Latin America and the Caribbean. We're about also to open the focal point for Asia Pacific and also in Africa, hopefully before end of the year. As I may have mentioned earlier in the presentation, the ISC is also establishing a presence in New York for its work with the UN, and we're about to have a rotating person from Paris who will go and work in Geneva with the technical agencies. Some of you may have seen the ISC Fellowship Program was launched in July with the announcement of the first foundational, we call them, fellows. There's currently a round of nominations for more fellows, so please, if you haven't done so, consider nominating fellows. And another good news is that the ISC has established a foundation in the UK. It's the ISC Foundation. That's the name, and the purpose of the foundation is to become a fundraising arm for the organization. We've realized that it was better to separate the fundraising activities from the organization in Paris, HQ in Paris, but have a separate arm that does that and is based under UK British law. On the affiliated bodies, there are some, of which SCORE is one, there's some important developments or decisions that need to be made by the board in the coming months. But what I wanted to share with you, and that's how I'm going to end these few words, is that group of affiliated bodies, you've seen the slide before, it's about 50, there's about 15 of them, remains quite a dissimilar group. They have different sponsorship agreements, the levels of engagement with the ISC varies. We as ISC have different roles and responsibilities towards them. And on the whole, if you look at this whole group, I think it's pretty obvious that the mutual benefits of the relationship are not always clear. And as a result, probably there are some opportunities for synergies, for amplification of action that are missed. And the board is very well aware of that. As a matter of fact, before COVID, we were about to launch an internal reflection and series of consultation with the affiliated bodies. COVID stopped that because it forced us to have other priorities, as you can imagine. I'm sure SCORE was in a similar situation, but we are revisiting now and relaunching that work. So the board will be in touch with a working group, trying to think about how can we as ISC better support, better integrate the work you're doing in our activities, and reversely, how can we be of better support to the work you're doing. And in doing that, and in trying to standardize the relationship with the different affiliated bodies, also address the questions of whether or not that category of networks and bodies should not be opened up to other networks and organizations that could be of relevance, importance to the ISC and to SCORE and the other affiliated bodies, so that we have a larger group of organizations that have a sponsorship relationship with the Council. That's a question at this stage, but the board is very much willing and ready to raise that question and find an answer in discussion with the different stakeholders. This is essentially what I wanted to share with you. I thank you very much. I hope I was not too long, and I wish you a very good meeting. Thank you.